All right. Welcome. Our live with another episode of HQ Boss. Faithful companion James. How are you
Mm.
tonight, James?
I'm doing really good. It snowed in Oklahoma today. Kind of weird.
Kind of weird. We we actually had a pretty sunny day. I got 40s. Got rain
Wow.
yesterday. Supposed to be snow, but snow. Hi, Mirror Dude. How are you?
Yeah, hello Mayor dude. He's all over the place. He was in my Monday stream earlier this week, and I finally figured out who he is on the Reaper forums, and I realized, oh yeah, I've read like dozens of your posts.
Well, so tonight, uh, James and I decided that we were going to discuss our virtual CavCon. Kind of going to be kind of a we're just hashing out some ideas. We're taking comments from people that are here that may have some ideas to help us with things that they've seen other people do. Um, and we can start planning on some of that. Um, while we were waiting to go live, we kind of talked a little bit about dates. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards the last weekend of March, which is 27th and 28th. Um, Reaper is doing a virtual convention the first weekend of March. I can honestly say this time that I had already decided to do one in March. They said anything. We didn't grab that month to just say, oh, they're doing one, we're going to do that. We actually had already decided we were March pretty much on the end of when we did our last one.
Yeah, you
Close.
surprised me. You just made that announcement.
Yeah.
We're doing another one in March.
Yeah.
I was
Let's.
like, hallelujah.
So anyway, I didn't really get a chance to watch theirs because everybody did ours same last time. Um, I was trying to kind of remember some of the stuff that I saw. I know that they had several guest painters and classes
Hmm.
on
Yes,
there.
many.
So, which to me, the classes are kind of the same thing as having guests showing.
Mhm.
I was going to go back and look. I know that they did sure how they set them, and I know ours. You and me just played and watched. I would like to figure out a way or more involved in it that are watching that yet.
I mean, either.
But that's pretty much the only things that I can think of are classes,
Hmm.
some kind of a game format, and like we do here, so talk,
Right.
round table.
Maybe we could, find some way to, reach out to, the CAV friendly painters out there in the internet. Maybe get some of them to stream during the convention or work on some calves or, stuff like that. Thunderhead Studios, maybe,
Right,
or
and that's what
if.
one of the things I did want to do is have more streamers, alternate
Mhm.
streamers join in.
Might be able to sweet talk Mr. Wapple. He's painted some calves before.
Yeah, no, I might be able to. Some of these guys, you run into it, especially if they're more established.
Mhm.
Yeah, they'll do it. Check. So we have to kind of watch that.
In some cases, it might don't know that obviously, I don't know anything about numbers, but there's some damn fine painters out there.
Yeah, but there are great paint. Um, but yeah, no, definitely more of the miniature painting. Um, I've been trying to figure out the problem. Some of our staff painters that we have, like Todd and Ross, aren't
Mhm.
computer set up yet.
Gurus.
Yes,
Yeah.
or they have bad internet or whatever, so it's been hard to try to get them to do
Mhm.
some things. Um, provided that, depending on, sorry, I'm kind of taking notes. Uh, depending on where we're at with COVID at that time, I would like to have people here. I could see, if we had enough people that were came up to help and do things
Mhm.
while we were here, that would be a good way to get Ross and Todd and people involved.
Mhm.
I might rent get the conference center here in town, more area spread out, move everything.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So if we had more people, then that would be. Uh, so that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, it's just trying to think of. Obviously, Chris can one that's going to be sculpting.
Mhm.
Depending on how we can stuff like something. Um, I don't know. I've worked a little bit more on doing the tabletop simulator stuff,
Mhm.
but it's for me to stay
Just
to be ready to go in first step.
yeah. I think you'd have to find somebody that was already pretty decent at that.
Right.
I don't know them personally, but I know a I know how to contact a guy that is really good at it. He does the Marvel Crisis Protocol mods for Tabletop Simulator, and they're really good. Um, I mean, if you want, I could try and get his contact info. I don't know anything about him. I just know that there's a person that does it, and they are very good.
I do know that I have just because it comes as I talk about. I know that the Germans, who have always been big battle tech,
Mhm.
they're probably the European strong point of battle tech. Fan Pro was over there, so
Mhm.
that probably had a lot to do with that. But they do a lot of tabletop simulator battle tech
BattleTech, yeah.
and pretty. I mean, what I see, what they put up on video, I can't understand anything they're saying, but they sucks because I used to know quite a lot of German, but I guess if I was around it more, my grandmother was on my mom's side was full blooded, heard lots of German. Uh, so but what they've done, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, after I paying attention to it a lot, it's really the tabletop simulator and all that stuff is just kind of more of a visual aid. I think
Mhm.
from the way I gather, you're still moving and doing
Mhm.
everything by hand, other
Yep.
than clicking on it with a mouse. And it would be cool if other. So that might be I can find somebody that would be more, or if this person you're talking to or something like that. I think it would help if we could find somebody that actually played the game to do
Yeah.
it, have a better understanding, because we might spend as much time explaining as as it would be if we just figured it out and did it ourselves. So maybe I could get a chance to look at it. I know I figured out how to bring in we have 3D files of most of the
Mhm.
minis. That part's relative to actually have three-dimensional.
And did you find a way to bring them in a format that you were comfortable with?
Yes, yeah, that we can
Okay.
we can bring them in and they're low poly that, if somebody got the file and tried to like you took the mini and took a blow to it,
Mm,
from
gotcha.
that part of it. It's kind of like pictures, you can do low res
Hmm.
pictures on the internet and they look great on your screen because your screen, but if you printed it out on a printer,
Yeah.
same concept there.
Mhm.
I could do more terrain stuff and have things a little better set up things. Hopefully, and I
Mhm.
should have my desert board. So
Yeah, I'd be excited to see that.
I've been turning along on it here weeks.
Mhm.
Finally got trees going.
So do you already have the mat to go underneath
I
that? Is that
do.
something you already have? Okay.
Yeah, and that's part of the that one that we played on while you were here is more yellowy
Mhm.
or orangey. I guess it's more. And so, but I've got one actually.
John goes to get the map. Mayor Dude, I see your comment about watching on Monday and Tuesday. I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you get a chance, check in Monday. I'm definitely going to be starting a new CAV model from scratch. I'm not sure. It might be a Simba conversion or the Cossack. I haven't made up my mind yet.
Either that, the right. I've been getting ready to print the right.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah,
so
I'm
here's
excited for
here's
those.
this first, but
Hmm.
it's kind of a light tan colored, and then it's got some browns and greens, like I've been putting on the.
I mean, it looks native to me from here. I really like it.
So this is one of those I got. I forget what company it's kind of felt, some kind of a fabric, so it's got a little bit of nap to
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
and that they sprayed bed liner on the back of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I mean,
Wow.
I don't know that that's 100% what it is, but it's something that they've sprayed some
Hmm.
spray on the back of it, so you get the thickness like you do rubber mat. Not as shiny, has a little, which I think for the board.
Hmm.
So,
Just as long as it doesn't catch the miniatures as you're trying to move them
oh
around.
no, it's not that. It's not that now. It's like I said, it's almost harder felt. I don't know.
Hmm.
Tried. And it's an 8 foot instead of a
Yeah.
6 foot. I got two of them from that company. I have to figure out because I got a city map.
Right.
I didn't like the city map as much because that texture didn't seem to go as well. I think
Right.
that's like mouse pad ones that I got from the city are
Right.
better for that. But I think for the
Now,
desert,
did you actually get 10 millimeter city maps?
yes.
Because see, that's something I still need to get. My city map is really 28, and it's okay, but it's out of scale when you get in the middle of the road and things like that. So I definitely need to buy a 10 millimeter map.
I,
I just haven't got around
I
to it yet.
think, or some maybe get the 10 millimeter city board mats that are the mouse pad. I think is Deep Cut Studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're out of ink. I think the both of them
Hmm.
two that I one was Deep Studio, but that's the mouse pad. Other people was this one fabric belt, but I can't remember. I did get ordered a Martian mat from the
Hmm.
cigar box guys,
Okay.
whatever. but it's true. It's fabric, printed on fabric.
Interesting.
Ended up being a lot more, and I guess I should have realized on a Mars board, but it ended up being a lot more reddy and orangey than what
Hmm.
it looked like in the
Online
pictures. Yeah,
photograph. Yeah.
so I'm not wild about it, but it's very thin material, and I think
Hmm.
it works good for what they originally started because they're big on putting everything like squares and stuff, and then going over the top of it, fabric, so the fabric drapes
Hmm.
over heels.
Oh, okay.
But
It's kind of old
yeah,
school.
but it just and it's square.
Hmm.
But again,
Yeah,
they
that's
yeah.
odd.
Well, I think they're like I said, they're more set up. I think historically, kind of gone into category. I wasn't as wild about some of the other.
Hmm.
So I've been hit or miss. I've tried 4 or 5 different
Hmm.
to get some. The frontline guys, I think, are pretty good. That's where I got
Hmm.
grass one.
Yeah.
I got another grass one from somebody else. Todd had got, and Todd really liked it and talked it up, and I got it. Colors very dark.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Interesting.
but plenty of mats there for that.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the painting thing. So, I mean, clearly, Mayor Dude is a customer of painting. I would love to watch some painting videos that are specifically about calves. If we can get people to do it, I would love to see somebody, whoever, I don't know, take the approach of here's how you paint armies. So like, I'm not set out to paint like a work of art. I'm trying to get something that looks nice. I can get squad, maybe 12 models of 5,000 point force. Here's my approach. Now they're clearly not going to paint a whole force on the
Right.
stream, but they might somebody who's really good at those kinds of techniques that say here's a corner you can cut, here's a way you can bulk paint these guys. I would love to see that. And then, the opposite approach, somebody who's stacking their paint skill up high and going, okay, so now here's the leader, here's the centerpiece of my army. I want to paint this guy up to have, like a really good quality of stuff. I'd like to really see the two different approaches to painting if we can find the people to do that.
Well, that's the thing, and then on the back side of that, they have to be computer enough savvy
Yeah.
too. That's they got away with some of it at ReaperCon because they actually
Hmm.
had the
Yeah.
studio sit down
Right.
table and. But I think that part of it is not going to be so bad. I think it's just a matter of start setting up the schedule and
Hmm.
figure out how big of blocks we want to do.
Right.
And it might be too that it might be even better to break it down so that um, you're talking about uh, higher end painters or army painters or something like that. But rather than go from start to finish, have this guy sit down and this person does nothing but shows you how to base. This
Hmm.
guy is dry brushing, washes or something, and break it
Interesting.
down into sections so
Hmm.
that you know that has more of that class thing rather than trying to show you everything and squeeze it 2
Right.
hours. I think everybody would rather have an hour or two specific. This is what you're working on here at this
Hmm.
next guy at this other class, next step, or the same person may come back and show that
Right.
step, but it's a separate class.
So sort of a la carte classes.
Yeah, I think that would be better than just try to
Yeah.
force it, finish the end. We'll have to kind of figure out the scheduling blocks. I would think that
Right.
we would probably be working on 2 hour blocks.
Mm.
I'm thinking of how long people want to be there.
That's right. Just think about movies, right? There's a reason why movies are 2 hours and some change long.
And then,
Hey, Ilmarin, I see you out there.
yes, hi there. How are you? Uh, so I'm kind of, it's hard for me. I'm kind of wrapping my head because I used to do trying to,
Right?
those are in person shows. You know, I think a painting contest, virtual painting contest,
Oh
would,
yeah, that's a good idea.
you know, if we had more time to get all that set up, kind of come set up for that.
Mhm.
Prizes, um,
Yeah,
you know, figure,
absolutely.
you know, do more giveaways and have a lot more variety for companies.
Yeah. You wanna know how to get people's attention really quickly? Give them a
Give
broadsword.
them a broad.
Give me a broadsword. Sorry, I misspoke.
We're pretty close. I know that I
I know,
said that.
that's why I'm so
Where
excited.
the big thing is all the printers are down. When I
Oh god.
well when I reorganized everything, I unplugged and moved
Yeah,
everything, and just haven't had
yeah.
time. The weed whacker printers, the resin printers are working.
You you have to look at the chat. As soon as you said prizes, Cthulhu
I
posted.
know. He's like, boom.
It's like blood in the water for that guy.
Well, hopefully we will have a larger pool to
Mhm.
pull from for the giveaways.
Yeah, but he's gonna win the broadsword.
Well,
So I have to go unplug his internet before I leave that weekend.
we may come up with a new way, stuff like
Mhm.
I don't know. Figure out.
So I
People get.
mean, participation
That's what I
tickets,
was gonna
you
say.
show up at
They get
in a class,
points for
raffle points.
event.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. So there's gotta be some games too. We're gonna play some CAV. I mean, I don't even care if there's a tournament, just I wanna see some calves on the table.
Yeah, because but I mean, just to finish up on the deal, because we by setting that up like that, if we can, because we don't want people to just show up. Oh, it's a prize giveaway.
Yeah,
They're here for 5 minutes. Oh, the prize is over, and then they're.
yeah.
So we want to work around. Uh,
Channel points. So I mean, literally, that's something you could do with those channel points, right?
right.
If you could find a way to reset them or somehow so that they only count during the
You
convention,
can.
and then you spend your channel points as to participate in the raffle. I think that's what you want right
Yeah.
there.
No, you can specify your channel points in something uh, unique or something like that. But by the
Mhm.
same token, I mean, even I mean, if you have already banked channel points coming to our shows, that's not a bad thing either.
Go ahead.
You
I have a lot of channel. Here, let me click on this thing so I can have more right now.
know?
Look, bam, more points. 60 more points for me. I like the sound of that. I have a lot of channel
Yeah.
points.
So you know we can for that. But games, yeah. Um, I think too, if we have more room, I know
Mhm.
that I decided after my little play game weekends
Right?
ago or whatever that I'm going to put together some kind of a table
Yeah. Yeah.
that would work too.
So here's my suggestion for whatever games we get in.
Right.
Instead of doing a tournament, do a narrative thing, and that way, in between the rounds, you can sit down and talk about the results. Well, the Rock destroyed the Terrans. They took the planet. They captured the fuel depot. What does that mean in the story? How does that impact what's going on in the next round? I think that gives you, it's a nice change of pace. A lot of games can still get played. You have stuff to talk about, storyline. That sounds good to me.
Right. Um, we could also play, maybe do an RPG game,
Ooh.
some rule system with, with the calves.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Cav D&D. I like it. Yeah, now Ilmarin is chipping in. Cthulhu, Cthulhu wants to spend channel points to make things happen in the game. That sounds fun and scary.
Well, and
I could just imagine.
right. Well, and we could have a game that was set up specifically for that. You
Hmm.
have a where the people that are watching,
Uh-huh. Can command the squads.
can
Tell me which squad to
spend
activate.
points to.
Yeah, that would be
They
fantastic.
could even auction it off. This guy does 100, but this guy does.
Hmm.
See how high everybody. Um,
Works for me.
and that could be something too. I mean, could maybe have an auction at the end.
Hmm. I mean, you could. I hypothetically, I have to think about how I feel about this, but you could raffle away the armies, right? I mean, as long as you supply the models, I don't mind giving up my painting time. Probably. I mean, that would be fun for me if I were watching the thing and I could, like have a chance to win a squad or like an army that I watched get played online. I think that would be pretty cool,
Well, yeah, and you could,
especially if Ross is
yeah.
playing or
Well, but
Todd.
that would be, you're not probably going to the greatest paint job. Not, I wouldn't imagine, I wouldn't ask somebody a squad at the level that normally do just to give away. I just them to do like so they don't feel like they totally because Ross is big. Ross is a big mercy.
Is he
Oh
really?
yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm just happy. If I can make you smile, I will give you a model.
Yeah,
That's
he
it's okay by
he
me.
sent me a box of some stuff that he's been painting for me, terrain and stuff. He
Yeah,
was he
and an
was he was
invoice.
mailing 2 or 3 boxes to people that he had painted minis for. so
Ah,
so he's like, yeah,
well, I mean,
gotta get.
Ross is a fantastic painter. He deserves it. My hat is off to Ross. He's incredible.
Yeah, no, he finally, uh, after almost a year,
Hmm.
got me all the terrain from the Kickstarter page. So photograph because we were
Hmm.
supposed to have it back when we did the release, have colored pictures of. But there was a couple of things that got in the way, but we're good. We're good
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
He's
All's
I
well that
would
ends
say that
well.
he's probably out of silver paint now, but
Yeah, seriously,
there's a lot of
seriously.
silver in. But yeah, no, and that's I think that just even if we go ahead and set the date, that will
Hmm.
help, and we can start doing promotion, start getting.
Hmm. So
Is this better? It's probably because I was moving back and from the.
So Ross had an idea back when we did the Big Stumpy podcast earlier in the month, and he had the idea that instead of whoever's going to show up to play, instead of just bringing something, maybe we should have like a lottery to see what army you get, and then um, I mean, I think the suggestion came up whereas then we could, as we started to work on them, we could feature them in the feeds or in the streams, Facebook, Discord, the whole nine yards, and just kind of build up a little like momentum,
Right,
a little interest,
right.
hopefully.
So
Or you could be like John and paint your entire army. the weekend before
I'll do better this time.
and make it look good.
I'll do better this time. I'll have that one done so I
Yeah.
can use it. So,
No, John, your stuff came out really good. So I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It worked.
yeah, I just didn't get it totally finished on the. So I don't. I put it up on Facebook. Tim, a friend of mine, sent me some Ritter stuff that he painted up, and he's a big bass guy like you. He doesn't
Hmm.
like the little basses. But I'll give him credit. He sent all these on the little bases, and they're all very nicely done and everything. But I'm thinking,
Hmm.
oh, I bet he was cussing me every time he was finishing a bass up. Oh, I hate these little basses.
Yep.
So
I can't blame him. Wasn't there a song about that? I
something,
like big basses and I
and
cannot
I
lie, or
cannot
something
lie.
like that.
Yes,
Yep.
I know it's all a preference on the thing of it. Like I said, I just yes, I was the one that had to pick them. So since I got to pick them, I picked what I like, which are small bases. Because I don't like the little. I think that I would try to keep them as minimalist as I can because they think they get in the way sometimes. Um, the other side of that is especially if you paint up desert bases and you're playing on a green board,
Hmm.
big bases really look.
Yeah. We talked about this on the Monday stream as I was finishing up my basses. I told them you didn't like them,
I
and I used almost that exact
Well,
example
and
from
and I
you.
love them. I mean, from the standpoint of the art, I love them. I
Yeah.
love when I see these, the bases that you guys do, and you do the, you put all the stuff on there, or you know, they're on roads or on, and all that kind. I love that. I think those are awesome looking. But from a playing standpoint,
Hmm.
they get, and that's the reason we did clear bases. I like clear bases too. I think that that's an easy thing to use. That way you can use them on whatever board and then not worry about
Hmm.
base them. You just put them on there. So
John, you are a fantastic game owner, developer. You're a nice guy. I really enjoy your company. But it's just good to know that you're wrong about something. I'm so happy that you finally are wrong about something and you're open about it.
I
It's
know
cool.
it's
I
a, I,
I think it's very good
I
of you.
can I can accept my deficiencies. I'll take it for the team.
Yeah. And Ilmarin in the chat painting the bases black. They're black to begin with. What are you talking about?
Well, probably
The
with
plastic
the
bases?
plastic that fits in them. Yeah,
Or maybe he's painting the clear bases
or
plastic, which is
yes, painting the clear
yeah,
ones
yeah,
black.
black.
Yeah, that's a lot of extra work there.
Ilmarin, what are you doing?
But no, like I said, and I mean I've seen some awesome bases over the years, but I hate when they
Yeah,
get in the way of game. Like to me,
I get it. Not your cup of tea.
I know. Now
When it all
I will
costs
say
not your
this, especially because you like to use. I think that the round ones
uh-huh.
are a little better when you're doing bigger ones. I think the round looks better. It fits more into the board. Um,
Mhm.
so that's like on the new tree. You know how I did all my new trees. Did those all on round 2-inch bases.
Geez, the metal washers.
No, actually, I cut them all out of MDF board. So
Okay.
16th inch MDF, since I can do that. Uh,
Yeah, it must be
yeah,
nice.
and I needed so many of them. I mean, I was like, 2-inch washers are like, I don't know, 60 cents a
Mhm.
piece or whatever. And I'm thinking, oh my
Yep.
God, I need how many of those?
I mean, they're made of steel.
Yeah. So,
Schmidt's got a question for you, John.
how would a jockey exit a disabled cab? Does the canopy have explosive bolts, a back door, or do they just roll down the window? I would say all of the above. Now, um, if there is a canopy that has the ability to open, um, then that canopy would blow off. there's some of the models like the Katana and everything that it's really kind of built in, so there's not really a deal on there. So at that point, I would assume that there's an access hatch that they would open on the bottom and have like a rope ladder or something that rolls down or so. I don't that would be how I would. Again, we really haven't gone into super specifics on how to get out of them, but that would be my guess. Is if you have a true canopy cockpit, then well, no, the concussion is actually he's got the hatch doors on the top, that round circle or whatever. I believe that's the hatch to get in and out of that thing. So, but like here, here's the Cobra that was sitting here. So he's got a true canopy. So to me, that would that opens up, and that's how they get in and out, and then it would actually blow, and they could eject out of the chair. So it's really just going to have to be cab by cab. You just have to kind of look at it and look at how you think they could get in and get out. So I don't know that they're I'm sure there's probably some futuristic high tech version of some kind of an extending. I don't know that it would be like a ladder, maybe some kind of a pole, that has a little flip out as it goes down, the little almost like a pogo stick, those kind of crosses like that, maybe like something like.
So sort of a lore question here. Generally speaking, do the militaries in CAV, do they value the pilot more or the vehicle more? Which one did they put? Which one comes first?
I would say the pilot, strictly from the standpoint. I don't think that they care whether they lose a CAV or they lose a pilot, just because at the level that we're, it's not like, that we haven't had the technology for 300 years and we've only got 10 to fight the entire galaxy with. To them, the cost of this is insignificant, even if it's 15 million credits or whatever. Yeah, I mean, Altec. I mean, it's nothing, because in the grand scope of things, you're talking about such a huge economy, how it works into there. But from a standpoint of, I need to get people to go out there and fight for me. So if the people know that I'm putting them in a box and putting a lock on it that they're never going to get out of, they probably are not going to be ready to go fight.
No.
So
You're not getting the cream of the crop.
Yeah. They're gonna protect the pilot more so, just from the standpoint of, so that we can get the next batch to go out there and fight. If all the guys line up and know that you just sent all your guys out there to get killed and that's what's going to happen to them, they're not going to be overly motivated to go out and give you their best job. So, and
so go ahead.
I was just going to say, because Smitty was talking about salvage and everything, and we kind of had that conversation before. Salvage is not that big a deal to these guys, especially from the enemy side of it. They really don't care. I mean, they can't use it. There might be a degree that, if they were fighting on a more of a backwards planet or something, and maybe the militia, were able to, they captured or got some enemy ones that were fixable or intact or whatever. I could see, the militia's taking them over, and that would be a good reason why you might have some mixing of different factions. But for the sake of, the main military force, they're not really worried about that stuff. That's where you have the there's a section talking about the breakers, the salvager guys. That's what they do. They follow, they're like the the followers of the plague or whatever, they're wherever the fighting is, that's where the breakers and the salvagers are going to end up, because that's what they go for, because they know that that stuff's going to be left, at least on the from the enemy side of it. If you won, the enemy stuff's going to be laid out there for you to get. They're going to be worried about picking their own stuff up just because they don't want it to be captured or whatever. But when the Rock come through and wipe out a planetary garrison or whatever, that garrison's, of course, you're going to have to worry about getting around the Rock anyway. But in that, as far as whatever they ended up killing or whatever, that's just left out there on the field. So,
See, I think that space you just described, this what happens after the battle. I think there's a bunch of really interesting stories there because I mean pirate organizations, maybe even some merc organizations, things that don't have quite the same budget as the main militaries that we're talking about here have. I think they are interested in that battlefield salvage, some of them. And I bet you there's an entire black market that operates off scavenging and salvaging the stuff off these battlefields.
well, and that's what they
I
do,
think there's
because they
some.
take all that stuff and there'll be centralized planets, where mercenaries
Mhm,
congregate and stuff like that. That's where all that stuff ends up at, one way or another,
mhm,
or the high end components or the metals or something like that they needed,
right,
or the fusion engines, for no other
right.
reason than to take a fusion engine and sell it to a small colony because they need it, or something like that. Um, if the Rock take trophies, maybe. Um, I don't want to get into, I don't want to turn into something too gruesome or whatever, but there's probably the occasional Rock that may have a skull or two hanging from their deal. I
Yeah.
to Rock, for them to take that kind of a trophy, they have to have some kind of respect for their
Mhm,
opponent. So if they were to take, if a pilot killed a known Terran pilot that they've spent a lot of time against, or there was something big attached to it, that might be something to be a trophy. It might be that they take a piece of the guy's machine or something like that. But the every all, I'm just doing my thing. They're not that big on
mhm.
trophies. You probably see lots of kill stickers or marks. I guess probably the Rock just probably have a bunch of ones on the side of their deal or whatever.
Mhm. Ilmarin, I think you're right. I think if you read the Ritterlich section, there's a way that a non noble can become ennobled. I think by being able to assemble and field a fighting force and pay for it.
Right. If they're able to have their own individual, it's almost kind of like a mercenary level
Hmm.
inside the Ritterlich, that you can actually build your own unit and have those to command to the level that you want to. So rather than, here you are, a noble, and you don't have anything, so you get your butter bars and they throw you out and command a squad. Here you go. Um, whereas a noble that had the money goes out and gets a battalion to command, and so that's
Hmm.
who they would be assigned and be responsible for going. So would the Ritter have more breakers? Um, Not necessarily, because again, the the Ritter are not going to use somebody else's stuff. Um,
Hmm.
goes back to the same uh, supply and repair issues that any of them have. They're gonna try to stay with their own stuff. Now, that's not to say that that they're not going to be looking for a lot of Ritter salvage that comes out from other fights. Maybe the nobles buy salvage from breakers and so forth, that from a battle. The Ritter had a battle with the Adenese, and you know a lot of Ritter stuff got captured or something like that, and then they come back and try to sell it to some of the Ritter nobles for pennies on the dollar. How are the new doctrines? Are those how those are coming along? Well, I know that we have all the lists and we've been kind of fleshing them out. That's kind of Herb is working on that right now. I get a question every once in a while, but I uh, haven't had a chance yet to jump into that with everything else that I've got going on. Um, I know we were talking about some A to E's ones the other day, and those are looking pretty cool. Because, like I said, I think the main idea for them right now is there are 5 trees, and each tree has 3 levels. So you can start at this level, go to this level, and go to this level. So even though the 5 doctrines are the same doctrine, they have different levels. And once you go to the second level, you get the 1 and the 2, and it goes like that. The Lend Lease is kind of a moot now. It is. I mean, it's not going to be a true doctrine in the new campaign system. That was put in mainly because of the way the Amethyl didn't have any models when the game started. So that was a way to bring that in and let people do that. But now that we've actually assigned them things and they have stuff, it's nearly not as important as what it was. The reason the A to E's came up is this kind of followed up our conversation that we've had about the A to E's being so more technological advanced. Is we want those doctrines to kind of show that to a degree without overly unbalancing the game. So we're kind of playing with that right now. Will the Templar Vet Squad doc stay? I think that it is. It may not be exactly the way it is in there right now, because you got to remember every doctrine now is going to have 3 levels. So there's got to be something at the low end and something at the high end. So how that spreads out, I don't 100% know because I haven't looked at all of them yet. That's kind of in Herb's department right now. So once I switch over to help him finish up the book, I'll have a little more input and see where we're at on that. So, but it was like, because I know it was like the one of the doctrines with the A to E's is they get an extra 6 inches, to their ECM and stuff like that. So, that's kind of that level that, that maybe they get this and then it goes to this and goes to that. So that'll show up a little bit without, will there be any faction only calves? Well, that's what we have right now. If I'm not
not for mercs.
Well,
mercs can field anything.
Right. But as far as faction, yeah, I mean, are you talking about like a CAV that only a faction? Yeah, I mean, somebody you're always going to have something that mercs couldn't get. Probably not, just from the sense of there's always a way to get something. I mean, unless there was only one made that everybody was paying attention to, it would be hard to say that there's absolutely nothing that a merc couldn't get.
Maybe some kind of a numeric limitation on how many of something a merc unit can field. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something to make let's say Templar players feel unique. And it's like I can field as many warlords as I want because we make them, and the mercs can field a warlord or 2, but you're not going to run into like like 3 squads of warlords. Right. That's something that belongs to the Templar faction. Maybe some kind of limitation there.
It could be. I know that there will be doctrines for the mercenaries. There's doctrines that are going to be. You're going to have faction doctrines. There's mercenaries. There's pirates. There's security forces.
That sounds like
they're not going to be as inclusive as some of the other ones, but they'll have their same 5 tiers. So whether they'll actually be doctrines or whatever, I don't know. Um,
Still, it's interesting.
and that might be a way that we may look at it too, Tiger. I know we've talked about it a little bit that the mercenary doctrines are going to have the ability to move around a little bit. Something that we might have a um, if you're you can pick your own tree, maybe something like that. It would be cool to have things that are specific to certain mercs and things like that. The problem that you get into that though is um, you at some where do you call the line? It's already if somebody's griping about there being too many essays or whatever. If you add 50 more things for people to choose from, I mean those are basically baby essays, and then you're really getting into a weird thing like that. Um, Probably where I would think maybe then where red spades or something would come like that would be kind of in their description that if you play red spades they do this. It'd be just a one line kind of thing. So we'll see. We haven't got as far with the mercenaries as some of the other stuff. And you can't. I mean, you can have special rules to make your unit unique. But again, a special rule is basically just another way of saying a special ability. So if we throw another 50 special rules out there, you're basically just adding a bunch more special abilities, and it would have. I think you could get away with it if it was something very simple. Just one line. This is what happens. There's not somebody trying to memorize what these guys can or can't do. So anyway, all right. So we're kind of getting towards the end of the hour. Yes, Kiss. I start off with Kiss. It actually ends up being something else, but yeah. Well, and that's not ditzing on another game or whatever, but they've kind of done that. The other Met game has kind of done what kind of you guys are talking about, and they are literally books now, this thick of list after list after list of all this kind of stuff. And I think from a role playing, maybe a campaign book, it's okay, but I think from everyday play, it can get a little muddy. So,
Hmm. I kind of have the opposite approach. I think keeping it simple can be overdone.
yes,
There's variety. You could just make tiers of play. It's like, hey, here are the tournament essays.
right,
Here are some role playing essays. Here are some, I don't know, whatever. I you have to give the players stuff to mess with. I mean, after a while, they'll explore it all, and then they'll be like, "Huh, I already did all
right.
this.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Give
I
me
think
something
if
more."
you take it and you're talking about different levels or tiers, but that's the same thing. I'm like, if from a campaign side of it, I don't think that you
Hmm.
can have too much. I think you can have pages and
Hmm.
pages of that stuff because your group, your friends, you play with what you want to play, you take with what you want to take, or what. I think trying to apply that to the overall, so that somebody sits at a tournament or a pickup game and get kind of muddy is kind of what I'm saying. Like I said, from an RPG, from a campaign side of it, I don't think that you can never not have enough. If you want to make your guy as specialized as you want, it's something that would be very easy for you to do.
Hmm. So, do we want to summarize the stuff we talked about for CavCon?
Well, we kind of based on some of our ideas, things that we were talking about. Right now, I'll kind of jail on it for a few more days. but it looks like we are going to go for the last weekend of March, which will be the 27th and 28th. We'll probably do the Friday, so it'll probably be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday deal again. Unless we just don't end up having enough stuff, then I guess we can do a Saturday, Sunday. With the virtual thing, it's not nearly as bad as a normal convention where Sunday at 1 o'clock everybody's dead and done. There's nothing to do. We can go longer in the day. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I had fun when you came down and it came up, and even for our quick little deal, just how we did it or whatever, it was fun. And I think that with a little more planning and some other people involved, I think it'll turn out pretty cool.
I think you're right. I'm looking forward to it very much.
Get a couple of t-shirt designs and get those out there and stuff like that. I've got to do something for 2020. I keep thinking I've got an idea that I want to do it, and then the one I originally had, I didn't do it, and so I'm still kind of playing with it. But there'll be a 2020 CAV shirt somewhere at some point.
I like the sound of that. I could take one.
All right. Well, any last minute questions, anything here as we kill the last 4 minutes? An hour went by pretty quick.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Lots of participation, lots of interesting things. Really looking forward to CavCon. I'm hoping that we can get some more people to come up. I'm hoping it can be a little bit bigger. You said maybe streaming a Cav RPG. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Have you said when Dualcast will be in the store? I have not. I'm hoping that we're going to be ready to start releasing next month in January. It's a matter of we're getting everything put together. We're having to redo part of the warehouse. We have a list of 20 things before we're ready to start casting it, and I think we're on 2 or 3. So
Smitty, hit me up over on Discord. Let's talk about your idea and see what's going on.
well, and we had talked about that a little bit earlier too, tabletop simulator or something like that. I think there's 2 or 3 other things out there that you can use. I just think tabletop simulator is pretty easy for everybody to get, especially because you can usually, if you kind of pay attention to stream. I think I got my copy of Tabletop Simulator for like $5.
Yep.
So it was this. They gave me a coupon and it was discounted or something. I forget the whole deal. Got it.
Not hard
got
to
it
get.
cheap. And there's nothing to it. I mean, it really is not that. The base of it is not that big of a thing. It's that module that you plug in for that game. So
that's that's where all the details are.
Yeah, Tiger says it's $9.99 on stream. I think, or Steam. I think that's what it was when I got it, but I had a $5 discount coupon for something that I got, or I don't remember. Who knows? So, all right. So we're down to the last minute. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to be done at 9 o'clock for a change. An hour. I stayed on a lot longer last night, finishing up stuff. So that I ended up totally changing my mind again. So, but
I didn't think you were going to finish all those hexes.
I started on some more, and the hexes part wasn't really bothering me. It's just the look that I was going for. I wanted to be very more reflective of the landscape. And I think that what I showed you earlier is going to work better for what I want. So that sci-fi look just for James would have been so much easier if it had just been a big tan colored
But we're playing Calves strike operations, not Cav horse operations.
Yeah, I
This is
know.
not a fantasy game.
Well, but if you were recreating something, you would want to make it look like it was original. So, all right. So
Maybe,
let's call it a
maybe
night
not.
on that before we get
Okay.
into a big argument. I've had enough arguing this week already.
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
agree.
So have a good time. I probably will talk to you somewhere somehow, but for everybody else, um, we won't see you again until the new year is here.
Truth.
So it will be 2021 next time. Chris will be here on Saturday. He's working on the Mastodon. There'll be two versions of it, the Mastodon and the Mammoth. And so he got started on that. Um, I think that we've pretty much decided that at the end of this, that the Mastodon is probably going to be the biggest CAV mini we've ever done. I don't know exactly how he's going to end up there, but other than that, everybody be safe. Don't get crazy New Year's Eve night, and we want everybody to be here for next year so that we can get past all this stuff and make CAV make 2021 a big CAV year. So
Mhm.
good night. James will be back Monday night. I'll be back Tuesday,
Yes,
and then
sir.
we'll be back next Wednesday. So see you guys later. Thanks for showing up.
Take care.